Hi, Kids Creek kids. It's Miss Rebecca here, ready to tell you a story. So, this story comes after Palm Sunday's story, and I'm wondering if you guys can remember a little bit about what happened on Palm Sunday. This was the story where Jesus goes into Jerusalem, this really big city of Jerusalem. And who remembers what happened when Jesus went into the city? Can anybody remember? Think a little bit about it. He was riding on something, right? And people were waving things, right? The palm branches. That's why we call it Palm Sunday. Well, this story happens right after that story. And when Jesus went into Jerusalem, he was kind of a big deal. He was kind of like a superstar. People were all kind of coming around him because they knew all about him. They heard about the miracles that he did, that he healed people. Some people even believed that he was the Messiah, that the Son of God. But in today's story, the crowd has gone away and Jesus is there with just his friends. Jesus has something really important to tell them. One thing you need to know though. Were there cars in Jesus' day? Nope. Did they have sidewalks like we have today and these roads that we had, kind of like this? Nope, not that either, right? But what were the roads made out of way back in Jesus' day? Lots of dirt and rocks and other really gross things like animal poop. That's what people rode on, is they rode on animals. They used animals to help them, so there was animal poop on the road. Gross, right? People wore sandals, but their feet would get super, super dirty. Okay, so I want you to remember that for our story today. Here's our story, and it comes from John 13. Jesus knew that it was time to leave this world and return to his Father. He knew that he would soon die. So he gathered his friends for a meal. Right before the meal, the devil had already got to one of his friends, a man named Judas, to turn in Jesus to the people who wanted to kill Jesus. But remember, Jesus had come from God and would return to God, and he knew that. So Jesus stayed with all of his friends. He got up from the table and he poured water into this big bowl. And then he began to wash the disciples' feet using the water in the bowl. It's dirty and stinky. Maybe you guys know that show, Stinky and Dirty. That's what it reminds me of, right? These people's feet were really gross. When he finished washing their feet, he dried them each with a towel. When it was time for a friend named Simon Peter said, "No way! I'm not going to let you wash my feet." But Jesus replied, "Unless I wash you, you won't belong to me." Simon Peter exclaimed, "Then wash my hands and my head as well, Lord, not just my feet." Why do you think Simon would have said that? Why would he have wanted Jesus to wash his whole body? It's a good question to think about. Jesus replied, "You are clean now, but not every single one of you." Because Jesus knew that there was somebody in the group that was going to betray him. Somebody who was going to turn on him. Who? After washing their feet, he asked, "Do you understand what I was doing? You call me Lord, and you are right, because that's what I am." He's saying, "I am God's son." Then Jesus said something else that was really important. Jesus said, "And since I have washed your feet, you ought to wash each other's feet. I have given you an example to follow. Do as I have done to you." Does he mean we should wash each other's feet? No, not exactly. What do you think he means? What does he mean when he says that we're supposed to do like he did? Now Jesus was deeply troubled, and he exclaimed, "I tell you the truth, one of you will betray me." The disciples, Jesus' friends, looked at each other, wondering who he could mean. One of them leaned over to Jesus and asked, "Lord, who is it?" Jesus responded, "It is the one to whom I give the bread I dip in the bowl." And when he had dipped it, he gave it to Judas. When Judas had eaten the bread, the devil entered into him. And Jesus told him, "Hurry and do what you are going to do." None of the others at the table knew what Jesus meant. So Judas left at once, going out into the night. So, what we usually do in Kids Creek is we often retell the story. So I want you guys to think about maybe with your families, or maybe you have siblings around, but why don't you sort of retell the story? Imagine what it was like sitting around the table and having this conversation about washing feet, right? So somebody be Jesus, somebody get a bowl and walk around and wash people's feet. Somebody has to be Simon Peter and say, "Lord, wash my whole body." Okay, so why don't you guys take a little bit of time and retell this story? And then I have some questions for you. What do you think that Jesus meant when he said to his followers, us, that we should follow his example of washing feet? Do you think he meant that we need to walk around and wash our friends' feet at school? What do you think? I want you to think about that. Shout out some of your ideas that you have. What does he mean? Why should we be, what would it look like to be like him? At Sycamore Creek, we don't wash each other's feet. Instead, we do laundry love. We pay for other people's laundry, right? What are other ways that we can show love for other people? See, because that's what Jesus was doing, right? By washing people's dirty feet, he was showing them lots of love, because in that day, their feet were gross. Gross, gross, gross. And he was showing them, I love you so much that I will even wash your grossest part, your feet that touch that dirty road, right? I also want to show you guys this picture too. We've got a picture of Jesus's, oops. Oh, I can't turn it around. Sorry, I can't. Oh, I can do this though. Whoops. There's that picture. We always have a piece of art, right? There's that picture of Jesus washing his disciples' feet. So, thank you guys for being awesome listeners today. And I hope you have a wonderful Easter in these days leading up to Easter. And maybe even take a minute and say what you're grateful for this week, like we always do at Kids Creek. And maybe something you need prayer for, something that you feel sad about, that you feel like you want to ask God for help with. Have a wonderful Easter. Bye.